Love Live Nijigasaki is the best anime you have all been sleeping on. That's right, it's Kino, and Season 2, which is currently airing, continues to be just peak fiction, frankly. And it's so good that I thought I would sit here today and make a video to tell you why it's so good, and why I'm not actually insane, feeling like the only person in the world watching this show. No, I swear I'm not insane. It's a Dr. Mario meme, it's very fun. Now I get it, Love Live, it kinda gets a bad rap, and I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it's because of how people perceive idol culture, and then, well, fair enough, actually, idol culture has a few issues. But I don't know, it feels as though idol anime, basically anime's equivalent to the musical, doesn't get a fair shake of the stick when it comes to people trying it out. Maybe it's just because people think musicals are cringe, but I'm here to tell you, the musicals aren't cringe, you are. And I think you should give Love Live a shot, especially Nijigasaki. But the problem with this recommendation is, if you were to watch one idol anime I'd recommend you, it would be Nijigasaki. It's like my favourite show ever. But the problem then becomes that, however good Nijigasaki is standing on its own, like most Love Live shows actually, it kind of doesn't show its true beauty as a Love Live trend breaker, if you will. You don't get that without watching the rest of them. Let me tell you why. Love Live's actually kind of like the Kingdom Hearts or Fate of the anime world. It's kind of an impenetrable fortress to people from the outside, and there's so many things happening, so many shows. It's kind of something that people get confused about and don't really know where to start or where to begin, which is the same thing practically, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's hard to get into. Do you start with the rhythm game? Do you start with the first anime? Do you start with your favourite song and just follow your favourite artists? Or do you just say shut up and watch it release order like you would with Kingdom Hearts or Fate Stay Night? Although, with Fate, you should actually watch Fate Zero first, because it's actually one of the good prequels. My answer is to essentially just watch the anime in release order, because you get a grasp where the show started and where it is now, but not just in, like, you know, metaphysical sense of the word. People say that as an easy way, well, just watch it from the start, idiot. No. Unironically, if you are going to watch Love Live, the first one's actually the hardest to watch, so just get it done first. It's harder to go back to it, and Sunshine is connected to that, so it's loosely connected, but it's connected. So it's one of those things where, like, you have to watch those two together, and then the other two exist. But also, it's not just evident in that sort of style in the CGI, which, I mean, again, we'll do another comparison. Look at the first episode of the first season of Love Live and the first episode of Nijigasaki. Do I need to say any more? But also, as the shows go on, they get better, and again, just, if you're going to watch the first one, you need to watch it first, because there's no real... You know, it's kind of just... yeah. But the reason this all ties into why Nijigasaki is so great is because Nijigasaki isn't just your regular Love Live affair. It expands and bends the formula all sorts of ways, and to great success, really. It's standalone, too, which is different to the other two shows before it, with Sunshine being a pseudo-sequel to School Idol Project, because the main character is, like, inspired to be an idol by looking at Muse, who are the group from the first seasons of Love Live. So that's kind of fun. I like that a lot. It's one of my favourite kinds of sequels, right? Where, like, it's not really a sequel, but it's in the same universe, and, like, you know, they're connected. And there's more than just that. I don't want to spoil it, but there is more than just that to the two connections. And it's kind of really cool. It's really neat, and it's really fun. You should really watch those two as a couple instead of, you know, watching them on their own like you would Superstar or Nijigasaki, you know? Why am I talking about watch orders again? God, I said it was easy to get into. Jesus fucking Christ, Jack! Bringing it back on topic, Nijigasaki bends and breaks these formulas all the time, while also, like, adhering to a few of them, but not necessarily in the same ways as the shows before them, which makes it feel a lot different in its thing. So, for the uninitiated, let's go through Love Live as a franchise. Love Live has had a pattern in all of its shows up to this point, and past it in Superstar, that is extremely formulaic, however good these shows are. The formula goes like this. People want to make an idol club, the student council president rejects them, they prove to them that idols are based, actually, get accepted, recruit new members, then the student council president joins. Success! Now, Sunshine differs a bit in the middle, and again, they vary, you know, this is the formula, but they do it in different ways. And I haven't finished Superstar yet, but they did just add 4 new members to make it around 9, so I'm gonna say they actually do follow some of these formulas, and I've watched 3 episodes, and the school council president projected them a total of 2 times so far. So I'm just saying, maybe there is one. Anyway, Nijigasaki is a different beast entirely. If you don't know, Love Live centers on a single group of idols doing the idol thing, and sometimes saving a school from closure. That happens twice. Nijigasaki features a group of girls, but instead of being one big group that performs together, they are a big group who perform individually. Not only does this lead to way more varied musical performances covering very different genres, I mean, okay, hell, right? Season 2 in episode 3 or 4, there's a fucking rap song. They rap. That is so cool. Like, come on, that is the sickest shit. But on top of that, we also see a song like pretty much every episode. In season 1, the first 9 episodes have 10 songs. Like, that's belting, you know? A belt, is that a word? And these songs, they act as the emotional climax to every episode and cap off the episode's messages in one big bubble of a song, and that you can listen to on Spotify and, you know, actually think it bangs and all that stuff. Musicals are sick, dude. That's such a big deal because in other Love Live shows, a performance would happen like once every 3 or so episodes, whereas like the first 9 episodes have 10 performances, like I've said already. And so far, season 2 has had 5 performances in 6 episodes. Like, that's a massive step up. And you'd think it would drop off for the second season because the budget would have been blown in the first season, but that's not the case, really. It's very good. And even talk about budget, the quality doesn't dip either. In fact, episode 6 of Nijigasaki season 1 has the best music video of all of them, barring the final performance of season 1. And at episode 6, just over halfway through this probably very grueling endeavour of making an animated music video every week where you would assume effort levels would drop, they made the best one the series has. And not only are these music videos not only do they have the best 3D CG in the industry, come at me Beastar stands, they also have layered depth to them too. Obviously I want you to watch the show itself, so I won't get too in detail into it here, but Setsuna Yuki's character at first glance is pretty much just like being a cool ass idol, and her being the best of the best. And her performances in the show are like very clearly choreographed and I assume rotoscope / motion captured with that in mind. That's unlike, for example, Ai's performance where she just kind of dances and looks good. You're killing it, queen. Pop off. It is very much just what you see in every other show, which is to say bluntly, kind of just generic idol music video shit that the franchise has done before. And even then, her dancing performance is kind of enrapturing her entire character of being a really happy person who's just happy to be here and wants to do idol stuff just so she can put a smile on people's faces, and like, you see that in the music video as well. But Setsuna's music videos have this kind of purpose to the movements, as if it's something she does regularly, plans out, and executes effortlessly. So take that performance from episode 3, where the first thing she does is a very extravagant and purposeful hand and chest movement, which is much like something Ai does in the next episode for her first movement of her dance, but unlike in Setsuna's performance, it is done totally differently, even though it is serving the exact same tempo and purpose as Setsuna's movement, and that is purely because I think Setsuna is an idol. She is trained in this, she knows how to dance, and that's intended is my sort of takeaway here. These sorts of touches are like in 3 separate performances throughout the season, where one character is explicitly said to go to dance lessons and perform with the exact same kind of purpose Setsuna does in her episode, and another who is a drama club member performing an ode to Singing in the Rain, and she performs it with the most theatrical dance movements you will ever see. But these are things you do not pick up just like watching the show for the first time casually. I just watch the performances a lot on YouTube because I like this show a lot, and I've picked this sort of thing up by watching them on repeat for a long time. And if you know more about dance and sort of choreography than me, then, well, I mean, that's not hard for a start. I know barely anything. I did drama, but that's about it. You probably would pick up a lot more than me. I just sort of amateur analyzing it. And again, this isn't to say that only these performances have these kind of touches in them too, because many more have slight little neat things, like I mentioned, with eyes making people happy and smiling in them, and make me really, this just makes me really happy as a fan of these characters. And then there's Emma, who's just doing the Sound of Music because she's Swiss. That's hilarious. It's almost as good as when the Season 2 OP, the American kid, eats a burger and then sits down next to the burger. You can't make this shit up, it's hilarious. But I think I've ranted about the musical side of the show enough. I think we can delve into why I think the show's actual narrative and theming is so brilliant too, because that's right, musicals aren't just about the music, there's a lot more going on here, as there is in most shows. I feel like I shouldn't need to explain that. Now, generally, again, this show breaks the Love Live trend in many ways with its general narrative. Having it not be one big group and having each idol be individual idols really does shake the formula enough by itself, more than you can really imagine. Just sort of, I mean, it literally makes every episode about characters have an emotional climax because they can have a song at the end, so just, that's a small example of it, but it's a massive shake-up to a very small thing they've changed. That isn't the sentence that makes sense, but I'm sure you get what I'm trying to say. But this series also has the first original main cast member in its protagonist, you. No, not you, not me, not you, YW, Nijigasaki. Every other series protagonist is just the main girl from the group. And if you have trouble finding out who that is, luckily I've got a great guide to show you here. It's one simple tip that will give you all the answers you need. They have orange hair. That's it. It's really that simple. Even Nijigasaki's group leader is Ayumu, who has the one with orange hair? Well, it's more red. Can I credit Nijigasaki for bucking that trend too? That seems a stretch. But in Nijigasaki's case, unlike the three other shows from the series, they originated in a gacha game. That's right, Love Live School Idol Festival All-Stars, nailed it, is a rhythm game where you tap the screen to Love Live songs. And it's honestly not that bad actually. I just never really got into it because pulling for outfits on characters and some art I can find on the wiki isn't as cool as pulling for characters. And it's neat that all the characters are there from the get-go, but I'm not a costume guy. I like to play games with the canonical costumes, if that makes sense. I don't like costume changes and stuff that the player chooses in games and JRPGs, for example. So it's literally the last type of gacha I would ever want to be involved with. And that sucks, because it's actually a pretty good game. But in this game, Nijigasaki's story does indeed happen, and according to people close to the matter, who I follow on Twitter, the stories are actually really different, and have actually very much diverged as of episode 6 of season 2. I can't speak to how much it diverged, but I know in the game, there is a civil war a la Avengers between two idol clubs, and that isn't in the show in the slightest, however cool that fucking sounds. I know that sounds fucking rad, right? People don't like it, so it's not in the show. They changed it, people think it's better, I think. But I don't know, I haven't played the game. Civil War with idols sounds pretty cool though. But also, even then, when you finish the show or the game, you can just go to the other one and have an entirely different story with these characters. There's more things to do with your favourite characters. I always like that. I'm one for milking franchises. Thank you, Atlas, for milking my favourite game, Persona 5 Royal. But also, in this gacha game, we're presented with an issue. Who does the player play as? Well, shockingly enough, not Ayumu or any of the other series' main girls, but as an entirely new character known as Anata, to fans anyway. It's the typical whole gacha game, has a self-insert protagonist, silent type shit, just so you can interact with the characters. You don't have to play one of them, so you can just see more character moments. Now, I didn't know this prior to the video, but according to the Wikia for Yu's page, she actually inherits a lot of the characteristics Anata has in the game, which is cool. It's really neat, actually. But she's definitely her own character, and not only that, she's probably one of my favourites and the best in the franchise. Not the best, one of the best. This video's going on and my sentence structure's getting worse. I have a script. This is Well, this is rough. I've played about 3 or so chapters of the game, so I am well averse to say that these two characters are different, because Anata doesn't necessarily have that much of a speaking role in School Idol Festival All-Stars. Just kind of exist. They just kind of do things. They do talk, it's just not much. Kind of ether in a Genshin Impact type deal. That makes sense. Yu's whole dynamic is really interesting though, because much like the gacha game, and unlike the rest of the shows, she isn't actually an idol. You see, she's a supporter slash producer slash manager to all the girls who do all the idling, and is actually the impetus and why the School Idol Club starts back up. I could write for hours on end about how her dynamics with the rest of the cast are extremely interesting, not just to the show itself, but to the whole series as a whole. But I won't here because I don't want to say too much, but I will say, her, Ayamu, and Setsuna's dynamic as a trio is fantastic. It's so well done. Their entire arc together is one of those things, like in media, that hits you at the right time and hits you differently, because it's something either you're going through or can relate to in some sort of way, outside of how much of a show-long arc adds to the general narrative structure of a Love Live show. It's just some of the best emotional moments in the entire franchise. And on top of just that narrative stuff, there's a bunch of little things narratively I like about Nijigasaki. There's a couple of episodes which relate to me personally, which are very much hard-hitting. Episode 4 of the show, funnily enough, I watched at a time when I wasn't sure what to do with this whole YouTube thing, and the motivation of Ai, who I've mentioned already, was just like, yeah, that's kind of what I want to do too, for YouTube. And that made me continue YouTube, and there you go, look at that, tying it back to personal emotions and stakes. Cool things, everybody. But yeah, it doesn't have that much of a, like, there's a loose central narrative, but when it comes together, dude, episode 13 is one of the best episodes of anime. I love it. It's so good. Because you take all these central plots to each of the characters and you bring them together for one final thing, which sort of cements this very loose festival arc that's happening through the entire show, and voila, you have perfection in an episode of anime. I also love the soundtrack, and by that I mean the score, not the musical performances, which are mostly bangers too. I don't know, but I don't think the composer for this show, Naoki Endo, had to go as hard as he did. Every song just fits the vibe perfectly and is great in its own merit. Love Live shows have decent OSTs, but again, Nijigasaki is my favourite of them all. I feel like you're really tired of me saying that by now, but hey, Nijigasaki's just that good, bro. But anyway, you're tired of hearing it, and I'm tired of saying it. This entire however long video sums up why I think Nijigasaki is so good as a show, and why you have been sleeping on this show forever. It's really just such a fun time. If you like musicals, this will be one of your new favourite shows in anime, and if you don't like musicals and you watch this show and like it, you have an entire new genre to dig through. So, hey, what's there to lose by giving it a shot? Hey, I hope this gave you a new in on something you might want to go see. Thanks for tuning in. Stan Setsuna Yuki, Ai Miyashita, and Yu Takasaki, and I'll see you lot on the other side. Peace.